The basics of the basic spot. The purpose of this presentation is to zero in on a concept in the NCAA football rules known as the basic spot. When we're talking about the basic spot, we're really talking about proper penalty enforcement. And penalty enforcement in the NCAA rules makes use of a concept called the 3-and-1 principle, which of course involves the basic spot. So these are the three concepts we'll be talking about. Let's look first at penalty enforcement. Now, we all know that penalty enforcement is the responsibility of the referee in a game, right? Wrong. Penalty enforcement is the responsibility of the entire football officiating crew, and every member of the crew really needs to understand what the penalty enforcement would be for any foul whenever a flag is thrown. You might be the official on the sideline who has to explain options to a coach, or perhaps you're the one that's marking off the penalty. All of us need to be on the same page and understand what the penalty enforcement is for each foul and what the possible options are for a coach. Now, the rules say this about penalty enforcement spots. It says this: for many fouls, the enforcement spot is specified in the statement of the penalty. So that would mean something like this, where it says intentional grounding and the penalty is stated loss of down at the spot of the foul. The enforcement spot there is the spot of the foul. Or something like this: illegal scrimmage kick beyond the neutral zone, 5 yards from the previous spot and loss of down. In these kinds of fouls, the penalty enforcement spot is stated specifically in the statement of the penalty. So for these kinds of penalties, you just have to memorize what the rules say when we're dealing with this kind of foul. But what about something like this? Block in the back, where the penalty is stated as 10 yards. No enforcement spot is stated specifically. The rule goes on and says, when the enforcement spot is not specified in the statement of the penalty, the enforcement spot is determined by the 3-and-1 principle, which we'll find out makes use of the basic spot. So let's look at this 3-and-1 principle. I like to visualize things, and so for me, this is the best way to think about it. The 3-and-1 principle, notice it's not 3-in-1, it's 3-and-1, makes use of these four quadrants, and this is one way to look at it. So we're talking about fouls won by the team in possession behind the basic spot, and we haven't defined the basic spot yet, but we'll look at that in just a moment. Or a foul by the team in possession beyond the basic spot, fouls by the team not in possession behind the basic spot, and fouls by the team not in possession beyond the basic spot. So these four categories sort of, encapsulate any type of foul that we might have in a game. So why is it called the 3-and-1 principle? Well, it turns out that 3 of these categories are treated one way, and 1 of them is treated differently. Which one is the one? That's right, it's this one. So for team in possession fouls behind the basic spot, the enforcement spot's going to be different. For the other 3, it's simple. The enforcement spot is the basic spot. But for this one category, the enforcement spot is the spot of the foul. So that's why it's called the 3-and-1 principle. Now, if you have a foul, there are 4 important questions to ask based on this. So it looks like which team is in possession when the foul occurs is kind of an important one for a 3-and-1 foul. Which type of play is happening when the foul occurs? Now, we haven't defined the types of plays yet, but we'll look at that in just a moment. What is the basic spot for that type of play? And finally, is the spot of the foul behind the basic spot? We need to know the answers to all of these questions whenever we're trying to enforce a penalty. All right, so now let's look at the basic spot and how the NCAA rules define the basic spot. So it says this: the basic spot is determined by the type of play happening when the foul occurs. Well, what kinds of plays are there in the NCAA football rules? Turns out there's 4 different play classifications, and they are a legal forward pass play, a free kick play, a scrimmage kick play, and What's the fourth one? Well, I can tell you it is not a loose ball play. That concept is something from the Federation rules, but it is not in the NCAA rules, so get that one out of your head. No, the catch-all, if it's not one of these other three, is simply a running play. So again, it's either the legal forward pass play, a free kick play, a scrimmage kick play, and if it's not any of those three, it's a running play. All right, let's look at the definition of each one of these and find out what the basic spot is for each of these types of plays. For a legal forward pass play, it's defined this way. A legal forward pass play is the interval between the snap and when a legal forward pass is complete, incomplete, or intercepted. Now, we don't always know that we're in a legal forward pass play. For example, if the ball is snapped to the quarterback and he's scrambling around, maybe he gets sacked or maybe he runs or something like that. If he never passes the ball, then we just had a running play. But if he does eventually legally forward pass the ball, then we know that we were in a legal forward pass play from the time of the snap until the ball was either completed, incompleted, or intercepted. And what is the basic spot for a legal forward pass play? It's the previous spot. All right, let's look at a free kick play. So a free kick play is defined this way. A free kick play is the action during the interval from the time the ball is legally kicked until it comes into player possession or is declared dead by rule. And what is the basic spot for a free kick play? It's also the previous spot. For a scrimmage kick play, it's defined this way. A scrimmage kick play is the action during the interval between the snap and when a scrimmage kick comes into player possession or the ball is declared dead by rule. All right, so let's say it's a punt or it could be a field goal attempt or something like that. When the ball is snapped and then kicked, the action is a scrimmage kick play until a player either possesses that ball or the ball is declared dead by rule. And what is the basic spot for a scrimmage kick play? Well, turns out it's a previous spot, basic spot as well, except we do have a special category when it comes to scrimmage kick plays, and the PSK spot could be the basic spot if the foul is governed by PSK rules. All right. Finally, there's the running play. And the rulebook defines a running play this way. It says, a running play is any live ball action other than that during a free kick play, a scrimmage kick play, or a legal forward pass play. So like I said, it's the catch-all. If we don't have a free kick play, we don't have a scrimmage kick play, and we don't have a legal forward pass play, the action is a running play. There's also this definition inside the running play. It says a run is that segment of a running play during which a ball carrier has possession. If a ball carrier loses possession by a fumble, backward pass, or illegal forward pass, the spot where the run ends is the yard line where the ball carrier loses possession. The running play includes the run and the loose ball action before a player gains or regains possession or the ball is declared dead. And a new running play begins when a player gains or regains possession. All right, so a running play, again, it starts once a player gains possession. But if the player loses possession, say through a fumble, the loose ball period during that fumble and the run before the fumble is the entire running play. Once another player gets possession of the ball or that same player regains possession, a new running play starts. So during a down, we could have multiple plays that occur. You could have, for example, a legal forward pass play, and as soon as the receiver catches the ball, a running play begins. And then if that receiver runs and subsequently fumbles the ball, and another player recovers the fumble, then another new running play begins. So you could have a play with a legal forward pass play and then 2, 3, 4, any number of running plays that follow. So this concept is very important because we need to know which type of play is occurring when the foul that is called is thrown. All right. There's also some special categories of running plays, but we'll look at those in just a moment. We need to know what the basic spot is for running plays. Turns out it's a little more complicated than for the other three types of plays. So we have this. When the related run in the running play ends behind the neutral zone, in that situation, the basic spot is the previous spot. If the related run ends beyond the neutral zone, then the basic spot is the end of that related run. And of course, if the related run ends when there is no neutral zone, the basic spot is the end of the related run. It's a little more complex. Then there's these three other special categories when we have possession changes, team possession changes. So if we had a team possession change in the end zone and the result of the play is a touchback. So an example would be like an interception by B in the end zone, and then they are downed there in the end zone. So we have a touchback. In that situation, the basic spot is defined as the succeeding spot, which is usually the 20-yard line. If we have a team possession change in the field of play and the related run ends in the end zone, or we have a team possession change in the end zone, the related run ends in the end zone, but the result of the play is not a touchback. In those rare cases, the basic spot is the goal line. The way I like to think of these three is, since one of them is the succeeding spot and the other two are the goal line, I just like to know if we have a team possession change that's in the end zone and the result of the play is a touchback, then the basic spot's the 20. Otherwise, it's the goal line in these special cases. All right, so here's another way of looking at what we just said. We need to know the basic spot for each of these four types of plays because we're going to need to know what the enforcement spot is by knowing the basic spot. Here's another way of looking at it. These are the possible basic spots as defined in the rules. So when we know the answers to these four questions for a 3-and-1 type foul, then we will understand what the enforcement spot is. It's either going to be the basic spot or the spot of the foul. All right, let's see if you understand these concepts by looking at examples. Think about this play. A14 free kicks the ball from the A35. B95 catches the kick at the B2 and runs to the B18, where he is hit and fumbles the ball. B80 falls on the ball at the B12 and is down there. During the fumble, B77 blocks A82 below the waist at the B16. Okay. Now, how many plays occur? Think about it. There's actually 3 different plays in this example. First, we have a free kick play, right? A14 free kicks the ball from the A35. Now, once B95 actually catches the kick at the B2, we start a running play. We'll call it running play number 1. B95 catches the kick at the B2 and runs to the B18 where he is hit and fumbles the ball. Oh boy. Now, when B80, a different player, falls on the ball at the B12 and he's down there, we technically have another running play. Now, it's not a very long running play because he falls on the ball, so as soon as he gains possession, the ball is dead and it doesn't last very long. But we do have 3 different plays. Now, we have to ask this question. Which team is in possession when the foul occurs? What is the play that's happening when this foul occurs? What is the basic spot for that type of play? And did the foul occur behind the basic spot? So let's look at these questions. All right? What kind of play is happening and what's the basic spot for that type of play? So it looks like the block below the waist happens during the fumble on running play number 1. So what's the basic spot for that? That's right. It's the end of the related run. Okay, well, where was that? Looks like he fumbled the ball at the 18. Is the spot of the foul behind the basic spot? Well, the spot of the foul is the B16. So it is behind the basic spot. So which of these categories does this foul fall into? We have a foul by the team in possession, behind the basic spot. So the enforcement spot would be the spot of the foul if we were going to enforce this penalty. All right, the B16. We would enforce it half the distance from the spot of the foul. So the answer here is B, 1st and 10 at the B8. And we got to this answer by simply thinking through our 3-and-1 principle, our definitions of basic spots, and by recognizing what type of play was occurring when the foul occurred. Okay? So if we enforce that foul, we're going to give the ball to the team who had possession during that play when we enforce the foul. Now remember, we can always decline a penalty. In other words, the result of the play is always a possible option. So don't forget about that. All right, let's look at a different example. A, 3rd and 12 at the B45. A12 throws a forward pass to A88, who was held by B2 at the B40 before the pass was thrown. The pass is intercepted by B8 at the B35 and returned to the 50. During B8's return, B49 launches into A12's head at the B42. All right, how many plays occur in this? There are 2 plays, right? We have a legal forward pass play, and then as soon as the pass is intercepted, we start a running play. All right? Ask the important questions. We need to ask them all. And we have more than one foul here, so we need to analyze each foul separately. Let's do that. So what is the basic spot for foul number 1, which is the holding by B? Well, foul 1 occurs during a legal forward pass play, and we know the basic spot for that is the previous spot. Okay? Foul number 2 occurs during a running play, and in this running play, the team in possession is actually Team B, right? Because we had an interception. So it's a different team in possession at this point, and the basic spot is the end of the related run for running plays. Okay? So, if we analyze both of these fouls, which foul are we going to penalize? Well, if we penalize the holding foul, they're both by the same team, by the way. If we penalize the holding foul, that's one thing. And then we have this horrific targeting foul during the interception. So this is actually an interesting one because the team that's offended, in this case Team A, is probably going to accept the foul that has, some would argue, a lesser penalty because they want to keep the ball, right? If we enforce the targeting penalty, that one occurred when Team B was in possession. So the answer is we're going to enforce the defensive holding penalty by Team B, and we're going to decline, strangely, the personal foul targeting penalty because if we enforce that one, Team B would get to retain possession of the ball. All right. So, let's ask the questions that we need to ask about that holding penalty. Is the spot of the foul behind the basic spot? The answer is no, it is not. It's actually beyond. So which category does it fit into? Well, it turns out for this foul, it's the team not in possession beyond the basic spot. So the enforcement spot is the basic spot. And so we're going to enforce from the previous spot, 10-yard penalty, and of course this one includes an automatic first down. So it's A's ball, 1st and 10 at the B35. Now we're still going to disqualify B49 for the targeting penalty, even though we didn't enforce the penalty on that one. All right. Now what about exceptions in the rule? Because we haven't really talked about that yet. So for example, in the holding penalty, it says 10 yards. So we have a 3-and-1 type of foul here. But it also says this: penalties for Team A fouls behind the neutral zone are enforced from the previous spot. Safety if the foul occurs behind Team A's goal line. So that extra statement is really just an exception to the 3-and-1 foul principle. So when the exception is in play, the 3-and-1 principle does not really even apply. If the exception's not in play, then of course it does apply. So let's look at that. And by the way, this is based on an editorial change in 2014. or there was an editorial change in 2014, that's another type of exception. It's this one. Penalties for personal fouls by Team B during a completed legal forward pass play are enforced at the end of the last run when it ends beyond the neutral zone. If the pass is incomplete or intercepted, or if there is a change of possession during the down, then the penalty is enforced at the previous spot. So this was an exception. I'm sorry. It's an exception that was written into the rules in 2014. So again, if this is in play, then we're sort of avoiding the 3-and-1 principle concepts that we've been going through here. So let's look at this example. A 3rd and 10 from the A25. Quarterback A12 throws a legal forward pass to tight end A88, who catches it at the A30. A88 runs to the A45 where he is downed. As quarterback A12 was about to throw, B76 pulled A70 down to the ground by his face mask at the A22. All right, how many plays occur? Again, there are 2 plays here. We have a legal forward pass play, and then we have a running play as soon as the receiver catches the ball. All right? Ask the important questions. What kind of play is happening, and what's the basic spot? Well, quarterback A12 was about to throw, so he still had possession of the ball when B76 pulls down A70, so probably a lineman here, down to the ground by the face mask. So this foul occurs during the legal forward pass play, for which the basic spot is the previous spot. So the thinking here would be, if we enforce this face mask, we would be enforcing it from the previous spot. However, we do have a special situation here, right? Because the ball is then caught. B commits a personal foul during the legal forward pass play, and that's what that 2014 exception was all about. So in this case, we're going to enforce from the end of the last run, not from the 3-and-1 principle, okay? So the answer in this case is A, 1st and 10, at the B40, the end of the last run. That's where the receiver had run to the A45 there, so that's where he was downed. The 3-and-1 principle in this case does not apply, okay? So that's it. The basic spot, penalty enforcement, and 3-and-1 principle. Hopefully this presentation will help you cement in your mind these concepts around penalty enforcement in the NCAA football rules. If you have questions or comments, feel free to email me, and I appreciate your time and attention.